Well, guys and girls, we defied the odds and we're back for round 3. The third episode of Switched On begins now. 3 of us. Third episode. 3 Switch games to talk about in the middle segment.
3 houses?
No, God, you guys. See, this is really hard because I haven't gotten very far in Fire Emblem, so I didn't know what you were. I didn't know. I would have shut you up real fast if I would have known.
Just put some tape over my mouth.
Yeah, I would have just cut out the audio from the editing. But
just cut out my face, cut out my being from the entire piece. It's all good, guys. I will move forward with more discretion in what I say. When I said I didn't think I was spoiling anything, but afterwards I could see how my words could have been misconstrued, and now I see the error in my ways, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm sorry, guys. And if I do think I'm venturing into that territory again, I will at least be like, hey guys, here's a spoiler. In Stranger Things, Elle is this girl who has powers, and she meets these kids.
Stop. We're done with that.
Spoiler.
We collectively apologize for Trip's trip, and we'll try to make sure it doesn't happen again. Also, we will make sure that the podcast is on audio sources because it's a podcast. And I read this weird comment where someone was like, if it's not an Apple podcast, it's just another YouTube show. And I was like, just another show? This is the SwitchForce official podcast, Switched On, starring Zach, Joseph, and Trip, and eventually Gabe. How can this be just another show? And we've got a good one for you. We're talking about important things like the Dragon Quest XI S demo. We're talking about Oninaki purchasing update, which is important to know. We're talking about Creature in the Well. We're talking Indie World. We even got some non-Nintendo stuff for you, like Bye Bye Spider-Man. And some YouTube behind the scenes, plus a bunch of your questions. You guys, your questions this week were fire. They were fancy. They will burn out the spoiler smoke that lingers from last week and take us to a better place. But first off, how was you guys this week?
It's been a crazy one. I helped my family move 2 separate times because they had a whole garage full of stuff. We had to move to their storage unit. And then I helped them move to their new house, which I guess we're going to talk about a little later. Houses. That's one topic that we decided to talk about.
Not 3 houses, just 1 house.
Not 3 houses.
Although if we talk about all of our houses, then
that is 3.
It's 3 houses.
3 houses. Wow.
That's rough.
So yeah, a lot of moving, a lot of music stuff. My band's working on some new tracks, and we're also getting ready for the showcase thing. So it's been a little hectic. A little crazy, but it's good overall. You know, stuff is rocking.
In my head, your band's name is like called Trippin' Up featuring Trip, but it's probably not.
Trippin' Out featuring Trip.
Probably
where we just trip out all the time. Yeah, you know you're a tool when you use your own name as a reference.
Hey.
You know, guys, I'm totally tripping right now.
And you put the fact that you're featured in it. It's not just named after you. You're featured in it.
Featuring Trip.
I still can't get over the fact that there was that game about the finger in the indie world, and one of the bands featured, and maybe they're popular, but it just stuck in my head. The band name was Cruise, like Tom Cruise, like but flipping the first letters.
Wow.
And,
I missed that.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
so,
I mean, I saw that trailer,
yeah.
but wow.
That was a
so
special
funny.
game. Of all the games of Indie World, that's the one that I have the least interest in playing, just to get that out the way. But
To be honest, I'm actually a little
Are you?
interested simply because I like the music. The music kind of
Hey.
got me. It looks like way out there. I have no idea
sure.
what it's even going to play like, but at the same time, the music kind of did capture me. I was like, okay, I don't get to hear a lot of rock music in my Switch game, so this could be kind of fun.
I was shocked that Nolan North is like a lead voice actor. Like, it seems like a game that has like
John DiMaggio.
Yeah. Whoa.
Crazy.
Like, all their budget went to that. That's why the art is like paper craft.
Minuscule.
Yeah.
2D. Yeah.
What was your
I mean,
week, Joseph?
My week was it was pretty fun. I'm working on a secret project right now, so I would like to
Secret.
say
He's got a secret. What?
yeah. It's art related, so that's fun, and that's pretty much been the whole time. I've just been like planning out how to do this and filming a bunch of stuff. Also, my dog is barking, but that's been my week. So not the most interesting, but it's been a good week. I've been enjoying it, so that's a thing.
That's good.
How about you, Zach?
I have been busy. I've been traveling as I do constantly, and we'll talk about it a little bit later in kind of like the third segment here. But man, like the YouTube edits are just, the hours are piling on. It's very worth it. I feel like the results are worth it, but this is rough because now there are so many games I want to play, and that's weird for me because like this whole year I feel like I've been really like games are kind of bad and it's 2019 and what's going on, but like lately I don't know why, but I have a fresh perspective. I'm loving so many different things, and like even smaller stuff to bigger stuff, like Control's coming out. Gears 5 is close. Gears Pop is out. It's out now, by the way. If you're listening to this, it's out.
Really?
Creature in the Well I've been playing. We had Indie World. There's like this game Remnant from the Ashes that's great. There's a bunch of new games, The Cycle, Vicious Circle, like all these multiplayer games that normally I wouldn't be interested in at all. So I've been wanting to play them, and instead I've just been editing and adding simple motion graphics to my videos. So that's it legitimately though, it's like a good feeling. I feel proud of the videos. So hopefully it translates into fun for all of you out there. But speaking of fun, NFL season is right around the corner, and that's honestly what has me the most hyped right now. And I don't think anyone else probably cares, but I just wanted to.
I love home runs, man. Those
Yeah, I think the NFL to me is probably what Fire Emblem is to you, Zach.
Yeah.
Just I mean,
Fair
it's
analogy.
cool, but it's not super.
It's
interesting.
cool.
I
You
mean,
respect
I've
other
just
people
never
love
been
it, but you're just like, I'm not into this at all.
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of baseball.
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, jeez.
I'm just kidding.
No,
My brother's super into it, so
Oh, yeah.
you know I get some updates from him here and there. But for the most part, it's just it's never been something that super grabbed me. But I'm the person who I'll turn on the Super Bowl naturally. When that comes around, I'm in for like one game a year. Or if the Boise State Broncos, which is like my hometown, if they're playing, I might throw on a show. But that's about it.
It's funny because like I refuse to watch the Super Bowl because I'm such a diehard Detroit Lions fan that like if they're not playing, like I won't watch.
You're
I'm
out.
Like forget it, not supporting, not part of it. But I will say on the plane last night, a dude said, "I love your Lions socks," and that made my day because it was in Florida, so there's no reason for him to like them, but he did, and that was great. So like I don't like feeling as if I'm beholden to society, but the NFL is one thing where I'm like 99 days, 64 days, 13 days, and I do like look forward to it tremendously every year. And you guys don't know this about me because you don't have a lot of history, but I used to be horrible about how upset I'd get when the Lions would lose, which happens a lot. And I would tweet about it and tweet about it and tweet about it, and yeah, I had to be like, after games, my family would be like, please give me your phone so you don't tweet these things about like the refs are cheating, it's all rigged. But I've let that go, so now it's all positivity. And
I kind of want to see the unpositivity.
I know,
though.
right?
I want to see what that looks
I
like.
had
He
a-
just freaks out when his team loses.
this is probably like
Yeah.
2014, I believe. So the Lions made the playoffs for the first time in my like cognizant life. And I was so hyped. I bought a new TV just for the game. I bought a 70-inch TV just for the game. Brought it home that day. I was so pumped. I knew they were going to win. Like, I'm so hyped that I got on and, like, bet money that the Lions were going to win because I was just, like, so excited. This is destiny. This is happening. The Lions have never won a playoff game. Or maybe they've won a couple. They have never won the Super Bowl. They haven't won a playoff game in my, like I said, existence. Or my cognizant existence, I guess. They did with Barry Sanders back in the day. But anyhow, they lost on a picked up pass interference call. And that means very little probably to you, but it was like one of those things where like the penalty was called, the ball moved, Lions doing good, and then the refs talked, picked up the flag, and moved the ball back. Unheard of, never happened before. And I was so stunned that I was like, I'm done. It's over. Like I leave. And my family was so concerned that they like hid my keys, hid my wallet. I was like, guys, I'm not going to do anything that crazy. But I was just like, I went and locked myself in my car and just sat there and thought for a couple hours. And
Dang, dude.
also,
Don't drive angry.
I kicked a few things. I almost broke my foot, but
Jeez.
it was sad.
You know, it's good to have that emotion towards something, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's how my brother is with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
That's maybe partially.
dude,
the
it was
reason I
against the
never got as
Cowboys.
into-
It was against the
Oh,
Cowboys.
dang.
So he
It was
excited.
in Dallas. Oh my
So
god.
while you were losing,
Yeah.
he was probably like freaking throwing stuff out of excitement.
Yeah, jeez, that's man,
so
that's a weird coincidence.
That is.
But yeah.
funny.
Is
it, though?
Wow, look at that.
I love, like, I'm such a fan of underdogs. So Detroit is like a downtrodden city. The Lions have always sucked. They never have great players, but like when they do win, it's so gratifying and so satisfying because just that whole underdog mentality of like us against the world. Nobody, like, being a fan of like the Patriots is so easy. They win the Super Bowl every other year. Being a fan of the Lakers, like they have LeBron or they have Kobe or they have Shaq or they have Magic Johnson, but like being a fan of the Detroit team when they do well, it's like I feel like I should be the only one allowed to celebrate because nobody else is a true fan. Like, if you're a fan of like a Detroit team, you are a true fan. But
Yeah,
'cause
that's why I'm a fan of the Jets. You know,
Yeah.
because they never win either.
they've got some players this year. Le'Veon Bell will help a lot.
But I've told my brother that, you know, I'm a fan of the Jets. So then he's like, okay, well, if the Jets ever make a Super Bowl, like, then you got to go. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah.
I always say
if
the
that
same
team
thing.
ever makes it,
If the
then I
Lions
have
ever
to
make
go.
the Super Bowl ever, then yeah, that'd be great. But
Yeah, I just follow the Jets so that I can basically not be into sports and then pretend like I still am. You know, so.
sounds good. Well,
Yeah, I love the Jets, man.
well, let's not pretend that this is a sports podcast. Let's instead pretend that this is a. Well, you know what? Let's give the people what they want. Let's talk indie world a little bit first, and then we'll talk about houses because
Okay.
we've done a lot of 3 houses, but you know this is regular houses. So indie world, I love the show. I talked about it on the channel. I thought
too.
it was phenomenal. I'm not really a fan of. I don't even remember their names. Kirk and Kathy, or like the whole like we're just ghost voices floating through space. Like that to me is a little awkward. But other than that, like content wise, it was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, I was fine with it because I liked just the focus on the games.
Yeah.
You know, they made it all about the games. There wasn't too much, you know, hemming or hawing. It was just, here's a game, check it out. And then there was occasionally a little brief banter, which, you know, breaks it up, which is, I guess, nice. It was a little weird in the beginning with the disembodied, you know.
Just 'cause it's
speaking.
like a white
But at the
screen.
same time, yeah, it was interesting. But they made a joke about it. I don't really know why, but, you know, so it was interesting. But yeah, there was just a lot of great games, a lot of stuff that kind of hit me out of nowhere that I was like, wait, that's really exciting. And even one title that's added to, because someone's going to ask later about like our top 3 games that we're excited for. And
Wow.
actually one of those kind of
Wow.
shot to the top. So I'm
Foreshadowing.
excited. Yeah.
Wow.
Some good stuff. Foreshadow.
Yeah. I thought it was a fantastic presentation. I think every game at least was interesting. Even the ones that I'm not going to get, it was nice to see. And I think, of course, the biggest thing was Ori being brought to the Switch. I think that's, you know, even for people who weren't excited that the game is coming, I think what it means for the Switch is so incredible. The fact that Microsoft is now, this is going to be the 3rd game that we're getting confirmed coming to the Switch, whether it have been Cuphead or Super Lucky's Tale. So I think that alone, like, if you weren't feeling that presentation, that had to have done something to you. If not, then like at that point, I don't know what you're watching that
They're
video
watching for
but
Kirk, his disembodied voice.
of course. And then when they take him out, it's all over. But other than that, like all the games were really good. And I think it was a lot better than last year's Nindy that happened around. I believe it happened around the same time, right? It was like August, and it was good. Like we had Goose Game. I was pretty upset that didn't come back. Like we didn't see anything about that Goose Game. I don't know.
Untitled
if you guys know
Goose
the one I'm
Game.
talking
Yeah.
Untitled Goose. I'm so mad we haven't heard about anything. Like I want that game so bad. But other than that, yeah, I think it was fantastic. Wasn't expecting it at all. I actually woke up as it was like starting, so that was a fantastic feeling. Don't know if anybody has ever done that. Woke up during a direct and you get that excitement. You like can't even see. Couldn't find my glasses. I'm just staring at my phone. It was pretty bad, but good times, man.
All right, let me ask you about a couple games because obviously like Ori's the big one. We know about that.
Yeah.
I think people are hyped for some of the immediate coming stuff like Creature in the Well, Blasphemous look good. What did you guys think about The Tourist, which is the follow-up from the Fast RMX team? A huge departure, obviously, from Wipeout style racing, but it looks promising.
Dude,
Yeah.
you nailed it on the head. That's the one I was going to talk about.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, it's all good. I think something about the art style, like it does kind of look like Minecraft, but at the same time, I don't think the gameplay is going to be that much like Minecraft,
No.
but it is this very cutesy kind of art style. And I'm a big like adventure fan. It kind of gives me those like maybe like a young old school like Indiana Jones adventuring vibe. Like he's diving underwater, but there's like very like ocean related. Anyway, and it just looks really cool, like him going to islands. There's like an arcade game within the game that you can play you know, other little arcade games at. Something about it, I don't know, it just grabbed my little heartstrings, and I'm excited. I think that looks fantastic, and that's one of the games I'm now looking forward to most. I mean, Eastward looks fantastic.
Yeah.
You know,
That's the one that did it for me. That was like
that's
my...
a little ways out. I think Eastward's going to be phenomenal, but there was something just really cute about the tours that kind of grabbed me, and I think that it just looks fantastic. I'm excited, so.
Yeah, I don't know.
I agree.
I don't know if other people have made the comparison, but like Eastward to me looks like pixelated Last of Us because it's like gruff dude and like a girl that he found solving puzzles together, and we don't know where she's from, and it's a post-apocalyptic world, and like, hey.
Actually, when I watched your video, Zach, talking about it, I literally at first thought that's what it was. I thought I didn't catch the
Made by Naughty
I didn't
Dog.
catch the joking. I was like, wait, is this actually a pixelated Last of Us game? And then I saw the trailer for it. I was like, yeah, it is. I was like,
Yeah,
no, it's definitely
Sony
not,
decided to, since Microsoft's bringing Ori, they're like, hey, Last of Us 2 comes out next May. We're gonna get ready with pixelated Last of Us. It's called Eastward. It sets up the story. Here we go.
It's genius.
Brilliant.
Absolutely genius.
I'd buy it, honestly.
But it might as well be, like you said, it looks like that's exactly what it is, but it looks so fun. And it's from the creators of Stardew Valley, you know, I mean, or at least the developer,
Publisher,
etc.
yeah.
And it kind of has that, the publisher,
Yeah.
sorry. It has that kind of art style. It actually looks like the art style to me looks even more, a little bit like Celeste, but obviously the gameplay is totally different. So, but it looks amazing. So I'm excited for that. Those two are big standouts. I also think that Roki looks kind of cool. Did you guys kind of see that? Like I couldn't tell much about
Which
the
one was
gameplay, but the
that?
story looks interesting. It also may or may not be a game that I auditioned for at some point. So I might know a little bit about the story.
Wow.
Which
Wow.
goes in some interesting directions. I'm not
Wow.
going to say anything, but it gets dark.
Thanks
but it's cool.
for dropping this on us now. I thought we knew a lot about you, but dang.
I know.
Yeah.
Dang.
Well, I don't know if I did because it went under a different name when I auditioned, but the story looks like literally exactly like what I auditioned for. So
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was. So
Yeah, that was the one, Joseph, with like the girl. She's like in a snowy mountain. There's different animals, like a wolf and a couple other like beast type
okay.
creatures. The gameplay wasn't super explicit,
Yeah.
but it looked good. And it got a solid spot. I also like this game. It may be terrible, but it's called Hypercharge Unboxed, and it's like little like toy soldier like a FPS.
Oh, that looks
like,
cool. Yeah, it
could-
looked
could
like
be kinda
Toy
fun.
Story,
Yeah.
legitimately almost. Yeah, it was sick.
What I want to know about that is it like a campaign game, or are they going for like a multiplayer type of aspect? Like, what do we know anything about that? We've seen gameplay. It's obviously a first-person shooter,
Right.
But do we know what it's going to play like at all, or is that really the only information we have? Is the name in that trailer?
Yeah, I'll look it up. But it looked
Because
interesting.
you know, like even in our, I think it was the last podcast we did, I mentioned I just want a nice TDM first-person shooter game on Switch. I don't care what it is. And that game, honestly, the gimmick of being toys and playing around like rooms and stuff, being the maps, like we've seen that done before in other places. There's even like this free-to-play game that I played a while ago that's kind of like that, but it's a third-person shooter. So it's like a really, I mean, the idea itself isn't that original, but I think the way it was executed looked really nice. And so yeah, that was definitely what I'm interested in. I just want to know what type of first-person shooter game it is.
So this is my issue, and this game now falls under that category. I was gonna bring it up with Skater XL. There are so many indie games nowadays that like I'm convinced when I see these at Indie World that they are new games, but they're not always the case. Hypercharge Unboxed released June 21st, 2017 on PC. But you'd never know. You'd never even think that. Skater XL has been out.
not think that at all.
Skater XL has been out on Steam since December of 2018, last year.
Really?
But you'd think like, oh,
I
this
knew
is a
it was
brand new
out.
skating game. Yeah,
Wow. I didn't
That
know it
is
was that
interesting.
long.
it's so weird. Okay,
Yes.
so Joseph, Hypercharge Unboxed is a wave-based cooperative shooter with tower defense elements. So it's not what you are looking
Tower
for,
defense.
but it does have very positive Steam reviews, and it's Unreal Engine 4.
So it's at least gonna look good on the Switch.
But you can play it now, which is so like.
Yeah, I guess like that's kind of, in terms of indie games, that's kind of what the Switch has become. It's like games that who have found like a cult following or like a niche audience on Steam are getting released on the Switch, and it's really working, I think, in Nintendo's favor, because a lot of those, you know, like for instance, let's say that game got its trailer, you're going to see in the comments a lot of people being like, oh, I played this on Steam, it's fantastic. So now people like us who were looking at it and like, you know, it does look kind of cool, but I don't know if I'd bite. It already has a history. So day one, we might be a little bit more, I guess, a little less susceptible to being like, well, you know what, I don't want this game because I don't know what it's like. Because there is that fear as well with indie games where you're like, is it going to be good? You know? So with it having a history already, that is taken out of the equation. So like you said, the feedback's positive. When it drops, I might get it now.
I feel like I'm getting resold a game,
Yeah,
in a different
that's how
way,
I
which,
feel.
which
Of
is
course.
kind of a bummer. But at the same time, I guess I wouldn't be as stoked if they were like, "Hey, check out this game that came out on PC in 2017."
Yeah.
So I see why they're not highlighting that, but it does kind of feel like I don't want to say cheap ploy, but something in that vein.
Yeah.
But I also agree that, it does give us a chance to play some games that we might not normally have, and they dress it up in kind of a new light, and then they, it does feel right on the Switch. And even those games, like, I probably wouldn't have been as excited about them if I knew that, they came out in 2017 or late 2018 already on a different platform. But I don't know that going in, and then just seeing the trailer, like, it does look exciting, and it's a game I never heard about, so to some degree, I guess it gives us a chance to play something new for us,
Right.
not
Yeah.
really new. But
And I mean, I think there's something to be said about that as well, though, because like there are so many games on Steam, games that you will never see. So it getting a release kind of is a huge deal. Like, this is its first. I mean, again, not its first technical release, but if something gets greenlit on Steam, it goes up, and sometimes there's not like nobody's gonna hear about it, whatever. So a game getting ported to any system, really, any console, it could Switch or otherwise, it's still like kind of a big deal because now we're seeing a game that possibly didn't have a release that, like a big release like they wanted, have that chance to
lost
get a
Joseph there
release
for a
like
bit.
that. So I
It's
think
frozen.
in that sense, it is still technically like a new release. I don't know. It's
you
a
hear
weird way to
Joseph?
think about it.
Joseph, I think we are losing you, or are you? Did it fix itself?
Oh. I lost my boys.
Can you hear us?
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
There we go.
Oh.
I can hear you. I
Okay.
can hear
Okay,
you.
okay.
I got you.
Okay.
Just
On mine, it just says
joining
Joseph
back.
left. Oh, okay, he's joining back. Okay. There you
the
go.
homie's back. See, man, they didn't want you to hear my thoughts.
The best part about this is when you left, it now flipped the two of you. So now we
Yeah.
have this awesome flip where like midway through the video, it's gonna be like bam, like they swap sides.
Yeah. And it grabbed their attention. They're gonna be like, "When did this happen? I need to go back."
Look at that. That's so funny.
Anyway, long story short, I'm fine with it. It does feel a little cheap sometimes, but
I guess I just like I want to believe that Nintendo is going back through Steam and like, which great games that no one knows about can we cherry pick for our platform? But I don't know
Yeah.
that that's exactly the process. I don't think that's how it works. I think it's more like who is submitting their game, who wants to be a part of it. Maybe Nintendo sometimes does reach out. So the thing I can't get out of my head is like if I didn't know about this game and it wasn't championed initially, what are the odds that it's going to be phenomenal now? Like you think about the games that we've loved indie-wise this year, Katana Zero, SteamWorld Quest, Ape Out. What are the odds that those games release on Steam and no one says anything? And then like years later they come to Xbox, it's like, whoa, they're great. So it's like,
Yeah.
is this game, like, there's plenty of quality hidden on Steam, don't get me wrong. But I have this concern that if it didn't make waves initially a year or 2 years ago, do I already know that it might be good, but it's probably not great?
Could be. But like Joseph said, I mean, to some degree, the fact that they're getting ported to Switch at all probably means they did somewhat well on Steam, or at least it had some
Yeah.
kind of a following, so at least somebody enjoyed it there. And
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from, though, because, there's that kind of like, okay, well, this didn't make enough waves to do well on Steam and to have, had me hear about it. So is it going to be that good on Switch? But, we gotta trust some of those Nintendo fellas.
Gotta trust those disembodied voices. Yeah, they know what's up.
Those disembodied voices.
I will say that I was.
They don't have heads or faces, they don't have a stake in.
All they have is trust.
And another.
All they've got is
I don't know how that connects.
It was interesting to not see like an update for like Hollow Knight Silksong or Shovel Knight King of Cards. Like, I feel like one thing that Nindy's Indie World can work on is there are a lot of games that I feel, I don't know what the exact percentage is, but maybe it's 10% of games revealed at these presentations that just like drop off the face of the earth and we never hear from again.
Yeah.
And I'd love to get like updates on like what, like last time on Indie World, this game came out, this one didn't, but we promise it's coming. That would be kind of
Well,
nice.
it's kind of like how they did re-highlight certain games,
Right.
like Creature in the Well.
Yeah.
But there's also ones, as well, like Red Lantern. I kind of wanted to see an update on that since the last Indie, and I didn't see anything more on that here. So yeah, I do think they could do a good job of re-highlighting games so they don't just kind of suddenly fade off into oblivion. It would have been cool during this to have at least something Silksong related. Like, that's going to be a huge indie game, so it'd be nice to at least get some information on it. I definitely agree with that. They could they could do a better job of actually highlighting stuff that maybe we got a glimpse of before, but we're gonna want a little more info going into it beforehand.
Right.
Yeah.
Hollow Knight could be being saved for an actual direct. I guess it's technically that caliber.
Could be.
But I thought it was great. I really loved it. I'm now ready for the direct. So.
Super Hot looks super hot. That's out now, right?
Yeah.
That is out now.
Yeah, actually, I need to check that out because that looks.
It's a great game. If you haven't played it, it's fantastic.
And Creature in the Well is not out, but you've played it,
Creature in the
right,
Well
Zach?
is not out. But I have played that.
What does that play like? I haven't.
Okay,
really gotten a
we're
chance to
we're
ask
out
you.
of order. Let's go out of order. We're gonna say we're
Super out of order.
Last second adjustment. We're moving house discussion to third segment. Executive decision. That's what's happening. Let's talk Creature in the Well. So Creature in the Well is another pinball inspired game in a different genre than pinball. So I don't know if you guys played Yoku's Island Express a while back. That was kind of a cool pinball Metroidvania type experience. But that one was very pinball-esque in the sense that there were still flippers and the maps were kind of structured like a makeshift pinball table. And it was much more... Man, I used to play a lot of pinball games on Game Boy Color. Like Pokemon Pinball with the little, like...
I love that game so much.
Extra battery.
It's one of the few pinball games I've played.
Little Mermaid 2
of course
pinball
we
was
played
really good on Game Boy Color. By the way,
Little Mermaid 2 pinball.
Ariel's daughter is
That's
featured.
A deep cut right there.
That is
Wow.
a deep cut.
I played the pinball game that used to come on PCs. It was like a space space
I forgot
pilot
the name
game.
of it, but...
Yeah. And then for a while, I don't remember what year this even was, but for a while there was like a pinball resurgence where we got all these like tables based on like movies and series, and I got some of those for a while. They're actually on Switch, I think, a lot of them. But okay, Creature in the Well. Creature in the Well is pinball, but it's more just like ball. Like there's not really a whole lot of... I mean, there's bumpers and there's things that you're hitting against, but it's more like baseball, honestly, because you have a weapon that you're hitting the ball against the bumpers, or hitting the ball against the enemies, or hitting the ball against the stuff. And it's...
How hard is it to actually hit the balls? Because when I
yeah.
watch it, I'm like, that seems like it's flying so fast. Like how accurate is the swing? Or
Right.
like that's one of the big things I've been wondering.
So I played about 3 hours of the game, and I would say I really enjoyed my time, and I'm gonna finish it. Like, I want to play all the way through. It's got an amazing art style. It's very, very clever the way it does art. You're moving through this indoor facility that, while kind of repetitive visually, still manages to be very interesting. And they do great stuff where you like drop through holes, and just the whole way the scenes shift is very nice. There's a mysterious story that's filled in by kind of text logs that you find, and this creepy creature in the well that you don't really know why it's there. I will say that unless it does something crazy in what I assume is the second half of the game, it's not precise enough to be phenomenal. And like, that's my biggest gripe, is that I would say 4 out of every 10 shots don't go where I think they're going to go.
Yeah, that's kind of my fear, because I'm bad at those games in general.
Right.
So if it's one that like the controls aren't super tight, then it's
because
tough time for me.
You can knock the ball back, but you can also charge up multiple balls and then fire them off in a direction. But like, you would need a mouse to be accurate enough to hit some of the small little markers. And it's fine in a general sense. Most of the rooms are just like, bigger bumpers, bigger blockers, and you're hitting them and knocking them down. And the main, like, I guess, loop of the game is knock down blockers to gain power, and then use that power to open doors and progress. The problem is that there are optional rooms that are still part of the main path, but it's optional to beat them, because by the point I am at in the game, I have so much power that I could just skip rooms. As far as I've seen, there aren't rooms that are like, just you have to like kill everything. It's much more just defeating the mechanisms to gain power and progress. But I have so much power now that, like I said, I can skip rooms. I don't want to, though, because the fun is completing these challenges where it's like, oh, this peg pops up, and then you have 3 seconds to hit this next peg, and then you have 3 seconds to get it through this tiny little gap, and then it opens up this new maze. Those are infuriating at times when the ball isn't going where you want it to go. There's one room in particular where you have to hit a sequence of pegs, and each one has like a 2-second timer to hit. And it's not just one hit, it's multiple hits. And like, if you don't get all of them, it resets the beginning of the room. So like, hit the first peg, got it. Hit the second peg, got it. Third peg, got it. Fourth peg, ball goes errant. I have to go chase it down. Lost, start over. And it, for how difficult some of the challenges are, for how precise rather they need you to be, I feel like the controls had to be tighter. And I wish that they either would have found a way to make it easier to aim or been more generous with what you were aiming for. Because there are literally times where you're trying to fit the ball through like a ball-size hole. And you have to be so accurate. I'm at the point in the game where I've gotten an upgrade where I have like a laser sight now, which helps a lot. But before that, it's just sort of like, hope these balls go where you're going. I mean, the Switch analog sticks, like, I think they're 8 directional sticks, so it's very hard to like get the precise angle that you want. And
well, Zach, have you tried using the Force? Using the Force to blow up the Death Star, shoot it into that very tiny little...
There are times where it legit feels
just
like...
let go. Sorry.
There are times where it legit feels like that. And maybe it'd be easier with the Pro Controller, but it's... And like, there is a health meter as well. So there are times where you're getting hit by things while you're trying to aim precisely, and it's like, I can't... It's not that I can't do it because I can't do it, it's like I can't do it because the game is not set up to let me do this effectively. And that's... I don't like mechanics or situations where you are limited by the mechanic or the situation versus like, oh, my skill. A lot of times when I beat these rooms, it feels like I got lucky because the balls bounce just the right way. And that's part of, like, there is a component here where they want it to be random of like, oh, the balls are just bouncing around.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, but I'm not a big fan of components where I feel like I was lucky to beat it. You know, I like feeling like, okay, I actually mastered something. I mastered a skill. So, yeah, you sold me. I'm definitely gonna spend 50 hours.
Gosh,
no, trust me.
It's really interesting.
The art style alone of this game, I'm gonna.
And the
get.
concept
Like,
is interesting.
I've been planning to get it no matter what.
There's a gear menu, and I'm hopeful that later in the game you get maybe the purpose of this is that you get more gear that allows you then go revisit these rooms, and you have new skills that somehow allow you to accomplish them more easily. Like, I have now a piece of gear that recharges my health when I catch balls. It sounds terrible, but that's what happens.
It's the nature of the game. This whole thing sounds terrible.
I have now, like the one I said, that has the laser sight. So maybe there are things, and maybe I'm not meant to progress. My other issue with the game is that it does not telegraph what you're doing much at all. So early on, I was sitting in the same room, like, I have to beat this. Like, oh, I can skip it. Oh, I'm not going to need all the power. I didn't know if there was like, hey, there's 50,000 potential power and there's 50,000 needed power to spend, so I got to get all 50,000. No, like, I now have so much excess power. The game kind of unfolds as you go, and it is a mysterious game, so maybe that's part of the point. It's enjoyable. Like, I played it for like 3 hours straight, so like it's fun. I'm going to beat it. It's hard when the Switch, for me, on the indie front, has been Katana Zero, Ape Out, SteamWorld Quest, Forager, these games that I think are like fantastic. And I'm like, this is not going to be a Game of the Year game, but it's still very good, and it's still something I'm excited to play, and it's still something that's cool on Switch, and it's very different. It's trying something different. I do hope that variety continues to expand. There are like pseudo boss battles, and those are much more accomplishable. It's just really these like challenge rooms that it's like, there's just some that I sat there and I was like, I don't think there's anything I could do to beat this, and that's just not a great feeling.
Yeah, of course. You never want to feel like the game is locking you out.
But it is good.
So I know I'll be saving up power and just spending it like a madman.
Yeah,
it's cool. Yeah, I'll skip this room. Skip this room.
I'm gonna finish it, and I'll come back and update you. Because I do think it's an interesting title. It's, we were talking last time about Game Maker's Toolkit, or 2 times ago, and like, from that standpoint, it's very fascinating to me of how they chose to develop this game and like how it's all come together. And that's why I'm so eager to see what new skills I unlock, to know if maybe there is a reason for why it is as maybe I get like a time slowing power or something. As like I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see how the character improves.
I like that, like Katana Zero.
Right now,
Heck yeah.
right now, Creature of the Well is sitting at a like, it's cool.
It's cool,
that's
guys.
good.
The official report is it's cool.
What's the report on Dragon Quest XI on Switch?
Oh boy.
Woo. Well, I'll let Joseph dive into this first because I know he's got more skin in the game on it.
Dude,
How are you further? I haven't finished it, but I've played like probably a good 20, 25 minutes or something. Or
so
something
I've
that.
played like a good hour and 10 minutes.
Nice.
About. I don't see an end right now. I like reached a point where I got like a checkpoint. Like I'm finally out of the starting village, so that's a good sign. That game is so much more likable than I thought it was going to be. Really? I knew there's something about Dragon Quest, and I think I mentioned it before. It's such a bright world. It knows what it is. It can take itself seriously, but also there's a lot of like, I don't know, from the creature designs to just the quirky nature of a lot of the characters, it knows what it is, and that to me was always the biggest draw. I just never knew where to start. So with this game, going in, it feels good that, you know, it's its own story. You don't have to worry about anything prior to it, despite the fact that there's an 11 in the name. The story starts out a lot darker than I thought it was going to, and then it becomes like your common coming-of-age anime story, which was... I assumed was going to happen, but it was just nice to see how it unfolds. I think the characters are likable. The art is likable. It looks good, which is awesome. And the one thing I will say is they didn't allow you to play the 2D version in the demo, which was interesting because I know
Just
that this
3D.
this is like the whole 2D aspect is special to the definitive edition. So I thought it would have been smart to be able to allow people to
Play that in
get
the
a
demo.
taste of that. Because if you're going to double dip, you're going to want to know what's new instead of jumping just straight into whatever. I mean, either way, I wasn't going to do the 2D off the bat. I really wanted to get the full 3D experience. One thing I will say is, and I'm actually interested in how you felt about it, Trip, is the combat is really...
Combat. That's
like,
going to be my main talking point,
it's
honestly.
such a bizarre
I was going to ask you about
thing.
it.
So, like, Dragon Quest, to my knowledge, besides Builders and, like, the spin-offs, has been a turn-based thing. Like, it's always been turn-based. And it still is turn-based, but they give you the ability to walk around. So imagine if you were playing something like Pokemon, which again is turn-based in the same fashion, but like you were able to move your character and not really know what that does for the battle. Like where I'm at, I currently don't understand why that aspect of the game is there, other than maybe being a little bit more, I guess, hands-on. Like you can move and be like, well, attack or do my spell. One thing I will say is when I got my first spell, it's the fire spell, and I think it's like Fizzle or something. And because I've played so much Smash and I've played Hero, like seeing that in Dragon Quest was like hype, which I know that's the most backwards thing, but I was like, that's that move from Smash Brothers. Absolutely not. But yeah, I think the combat is, I don't know, it's really bizarre. I don't hate it, but I just don't understand that aspect of it. But yeah.
So jumping on what you said, like what I've played of the demo so far, it's so gorgeous and the music is absolutely phenomenal. It is probably the coolest soundtrack I've ever heard, and it like just gets me so hyped to go adventure. You know, it's like all happy, but it's also epic at the same time. The cutscenes are amazing. Like they looked, as soon as I saw the first cutscenes, I was in. I was like, oh my gosh, what have I been like sleeping on this whole time? Like 11, and I haven't played any of the other games. And then the story, the characters like immediately grabbed me. But I do gotta say, and maybe just because I'm early on, the combat, as soon as I got in, I was expecting something so different, and the combat just does not do it for me. And maybe it's because, again, this is my first foray kind of into the franchise. I didn't know it was going to be turn-based, to be honest, so I guess that's on me. That's my fault. But it just looked like a game that was not going to be turn-based, and so then as soon as it was, I was like, oh, okay, that's not what I was expecting. But on top of that, I love plenty of turn-based games. This one specifically just feels like it's not even like Pokemon turn-based where like, okay, use Ember, buddy, or like, you know, use this, I don't know, sword move. Like in the beginning, you just go into tactics and then you tell Hero like, okay, I want you to be offensive or I want you to be defensive. And then maybe it's just because I'm playing it wrong, but after that, it's like you just sit back and he just does his thing.
You know what it is? I can absolutely tell you what happened there.
Oh, okay.
So, and it was the same issue with me. I didn't even think to say it. So the tactics menu, it does this strange thing where you enter a battle, you get the battle music, whatever. I did the Pokemon one because I don't remember Dragon Quest. Then it gives you a menu where you can't move, and it says fight, tactics, and like items or other things. And when you go to tactics, because the only character you have currently is the main playable character, that's the only one you can control. So the tactics menu prompt is actually a way to get it to play itself, literally. So if you just hit fight, then you get the option. Like then it brings you into the actual battle, and it's
goodness. Thank goodness.
Yeah, like this game is just playing itself. What's happening?
I literally felt like it was just playing itself. I was like, is this supposed to be fun? I'm not doing anything.
I promise you.
Thank you so much.
I got you, homie. I got you.
I knew it had to be user error, but I just wanted to bring it up on here because I just did not understand. I was like, this cannot be this easy.
Yeah, and it is weird though because they do bring up that menu. That's like a pre-battle menu. It's like a pre-battle menu, if anything. So like, if you're someone new who's playing it, I did the same thing. I saw the tactics and I was like, well, I want to do that. That sounds like I'm going to win if I figure out
if I use tactics.
Yeah.
I've also been playing Fire Emblem, so I was just like, oh, okay, well, I naturally need to do my tactics first before I go into battle.
Yeah,
so
you got your pen and paper out.
We'll set that up, and then as soon as I got into battle, I was like, but I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, you do get to play. I will still say, though, even with this new knowledge of you being able to go in and do the fight, it is still like very, like even with Pokemon, again, I'm sorry that we always had to go
this is like, not the appropriate comparison. It should be like a Final Fantasy or another Dragon Quest.
No, I mean, this one's a bit different because
but it plays more like a Pokemon or something.
A little bit. I mean, I guess like older Final Fantasies, of course, there's that like correlation, but with newer Final Fantasies, they're all like action RPGs now. But anyway, so like in Pokemon, you get your starter. It only knows like 2 moves, like attack and you know whatever bubble, razor. Well, not razor leaf, but any of those moves. So it's like baby moves. But in this game, you literally start with just an attack button, and you're doing, no joke, maybe 1 to 2 damage on like the blue slimes, which doesn't feel too great. But I'm now like level 6 because you can transfer the data from the demo to the full game. So I'm just going to keep playing and grinding. Like there's no.
So it's not time based or anything. It's like there's an end battle.
So far, as a matter of fact, the world just opened up to me. They gave me a horse, and they're like, okay. And I think there's one more dungeon I get to do before the demo ends.
Gotcha.
But there's this huge like open area where I could just keep like the monsters keep respawning. So I'm just kind of.
This is a legit demo though. They give you a lot of content to play through, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean. If you gave someone the controller after you hit start on that thing, they would not be able to tell you it was a demo. It does not feel like a demo. The only thing they locked you out of is that 2D mode.
The 2D, yeah.
And even then, it's like, who cares? Like at that point, it's the same game. You're still getting the same amount of content. It was just an interesting spin on things. But yeah, I think like where I'm at now, I think I have 2 spells. I have, it's still just me. I don't have like another party member, but. I mean, it feels a lot better, and I enjoy the fighting. But at the beginning, it definitely was a lot slower. But that's a lot of, like, JRPG type stuff. But I'm excited to see more party members come in, because that's really where Dragon Quest shines from, like, everybody I hear talking about Dragon Quest. It's that cast of characters that you create your party with, and the gameplay gets so much faster. Because at that point, you have so many people, there's so many moving parts, that it always feels like you're doing something.
That's cool.
So, if I'm having fun with it now, and Zach, for you, if you enjoyed Dragon Quest Builders, for some reason, and I don't know why, because obviously it's a complete different genre, it scratches the same exact itch, and I don't know why. Dragon Quest really does have its own, like, it really is its own type of beast, and I think people in the West have not experienced it to the extent that, like, people in Japan and you know, pretty much anybody else has experienced. So I'm really happy that this game is coming, and I'm really happy that Nintendo is pushing it, and I hope it does well, because from what I've played, it's phenomenal. I'm glad it comes out after Astral Chain, because I really do think it's going to eat a lot of my time.
Yeah. Dragon Quest 11 just makes me wish that Persona 5 Royal was coming to Switch. That's every time I see Dragon Quest 11, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Don't do that. Such a soft. I hate that happened, man.
We got the Warriors game or whatever. Woo.
Man, I remember when they were like, all right, we're going to reveal Persona 5S. And everyone's like, it has to be Switch. There's like 0% chance it's not Switch. and then they hit us with the Pokemon.
900% chance it wasn't.
Persona 5.
See, like,
Scramble.
I'm like such not a JRPG guy, and so I feel like it has to really be a super unique mechanic or a super unique element that gets me hooked. So like I gave Octopath Traveler a legit chance because I thought like the 8 stories and picking them as you go was interesting. Now, as I progressed through the game, I realized, well, this really does boil down to rinse and repeat grinding combat, and you know, once you kind of gather the group, that was sort of the fun for me, and after that I was kind of like, I'm kind of bored. Persona does it for me because the style is just insane, from the menus to the games, the cutscenes. Like it's a marvel to look at.
Yeah.
Dragon Quest, I don't doubt the quality. It's just like I feel like
hasn't piqued your interest.
Yeah, I just feel like I've done it so many times before, and I mean, I'm gonna give it a shot because you guys speak so highly of it, and I played a little bit of it on PlayStation 4 back when it initially released, but it's harder for me to dive in because it doesn't have that one thing that's like stands out so much about it. It's very much still in the mold of what Dragon Quest, what Final Fantasy was, you know, and so. But I'm glad you guys liked it. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like Joseph, you liked it. I don't know if you liked it, Zach. You sound like it just started slow for you.
Like I said, I really don't know now because I was playing the combat all wrong. All I had to go off of was the crappy version of the combat that I was doing where I wasn't doing anything. So I honestly got to give it another try. All I can say, though, I do really love it so far for the story and the characters. There's something so quirky about it. I think that's the perfect word, is like quirky. It's just a quirky game, but it also still has like the most crazy epic music I've ever heard. Like, I don't know. They've put a lot into it, which I think is cool. If the combat's better, then I'll be into it.
I'm sure it's a lot better than sitting there watching.
It is. Yeah. What I actually wonder though is, well, before anything, I just realized that maybe a reason that tactics menu is a thing, because like in my head I'm like, why would they do that? It probably is for like grinding purposes. So if I ever do get bored by doing the same combat, then I could switch back to that to just be like, okay, I'm gonna breeze through this one because I don't care about this battle. So I guess that's probably what it's for. So
it's also there to set your other party members. Like when you do have a full group, then you'll be able to. I'm sure,
exactly.
Yeah.
Be able to kind of multi-manage, that stuff. But back to what you were saying, Zach, it is interesting because I really sound like I like a lot of JRPGs, but I do get bored a lot of the time with them, and I pick a lot of them up, but I often don't finish. That's why something like a Fire Emblem, Three Houses, did mean a lot to me.
Sure.
And funny enough is I think I'm the same way where it needs to have a gimmick, but my gimmicks that I found are like very different. So Persona 5, I think it goes everyone understands that game is beautiful. Like, it has its own style. It wears it on its sleeve through everything. I mean, even like the Smash menu is based off of that. Like, Sakurai looked at how Persona did their menus and was like, let's have a UI like that. So really awesome stuff. But I look at something like Fire Emblem, and the draw to me for that was the fact that your units die. That was such a I mean, obviously other games do that, especially like tactical games like that, but to the extent where like it's a character game. So like that, I know a lot of people look at it and it's like, yeah, you are reading a book. That only matters not in the moment. In the moment, you're like, I want to get through this. It matters when they're in danger, because then that moment comes, and now suddenly there's, even if you're like, oh no, but he hates red, and now he's gonna die. Like, it's just that connection gives you something that other games really don't often do, and I think that was my draw for that. But like as you said, like Octopath Traveler, I was the same way. Once I got the full cast, it did kind of die down for me. I think the only other mechanic that was really dope in that game was, I don't know if you remember, but you can actually like not use a turn for a character.
Yeah, that's a very cool
and then
system.
Build up to like, I love that, because then you have like 5 turns on one character, like your big dude who just goes in, and but it wasn't enough to, like you said, it was very much a rinse and repeat game. So looking at Dragon Quest and what it is, I'm not going into it thinking about the fact that it is just a normal JRPG. I'm really trying to understand, like, I think almost the draw to it is the fact that it's this huge beloved series that, I mean, people go crazy for. I mean, it's almost considered a holiday in Japan when a new one released. There's so many, like, I as I mentioned before, I love anime and manga and all that. There are so many artists who legitimately don't post Like they don't
Just
put
to go
out work
play?
that because they're playing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys ever heard of Hunter x Hunter. This anime has so many like, I guess hiatuses because Dragon Quest comes out. So it's so funny to me that
That's
this.
so funny.
Yeah, it's this huge thing. So when I picked that up and it was my first time, I felt like there was such history. Like every monster, it just feels like so much. And that's kind of been the draw for me, is that this is kind of the like grandfather of a lot of JRPGs. So to see it in its newest and best looking form, that's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
The gameplay itself, I don't think is the draw. And I know for some people that might sound like weird, but the gameplay is good enough to where I'm going to play it. Like I feel like I'm going to finish that game. And as I said, with JRPGs, I don't often do that, but the ones I do, I get really attached to. So I'm excited for it, and I do highly recommend you give it a chance just for that. And if that, like, the characteristics don't really catch your eye, then drop it. I don't think there's anything like beyond that.
Yeah,
But
I
I'll let
don't
you
get
know.
Persona. I don't get the new Tales game. So if I'm gonna play any JRPG, it's probably gonna be this one. Oninaki is $50 and comes out very soon. And last week we were very unsure about the cost of this game, and then I was playing Remnant from the Ashes, which is this game that's like a Dark Souls, Bloodborne, looter shooter hybrid that has been, I feel like it's universally loved right now, and that is even cheaper than Oninaki. But Joseph, you were saying like you're pre-ordering now.
Yeah. So I know last week Trip and I spoke about it because we played the demo, and I think we both agreed it was a pretty fun game. I finally finished the demo, which at that point I hadn't. I thought I did, and I don't know. There's mechanics in it that okay. So you guys remember Xenoblade Chronicles 2?
Yeah.
That was a game that I really wanted to like absolutely love. There were so many characters. There was so much going into it. I thought I was really going to immerse myself, and I did for the most part. I have a lot of hours in it, but I don't think I'm ever going to beat it. This game introduced a mechanic that I didn't realize early on, but so the whole gimmick is that you can talk to these ghosts and you can kind of form pacts with them, and like, okay, now I could use their weapon and they fight alongside me and I get their new abilities, and you could upgrade them. They have a huge skill tree, which is awesome. Like by the end of it, you're doing combos that you just weren't possible. You're not just pressing one button. But they even had things where like, so the whole gimmick is that these ghosts don't have memories, or like they don't, I guess, discuss their memories with you. But the more you use them, you get skill points, and you could spend it on like learning more about them, which then unlocks even more moves. And I realize now that they're really trying to push this whole, I guess, collect them all style of game where you want to get these weapons and you want to be able to fill out this world's history. I think towards the end of the demo, you get into this huge town, and like the world really kind of sets itself up. It's like, oh, there's this cult that is up to something. Oh, there are these soldiers. You're part of this faction. There's like all these sides to things. And that was when it really started to show like this has stuff in it. Like this isn't just
There's more depth.
mission to mission. Exactly. And I think that for me was kind of the big, you know what, in terms of how it looks and plays, it doesn't exactly feel like a $60 game, a $50 game even, but I think I'm going to find enough enjoyment to warrant that. The one thing I will say is I think the scores came out recently on Metacritic, maybe even today. I saw a tweet about it. It got like a 60, I think it got exactly a 69, which was less than I Am Setsuna, which was their first game, the game company that made it. So people are like, oh, so it is trash. We're not going to pick it up. I didn't play the demo, but I'm glad I didn't waste space.
This comes from someone who wasn't really that big a fan of Setsuna. I like this game already better than I Am Setsuna.
And there you go.
So
Yeah,
it is
so
kind of
many people are
interesting that it
bagging
got
on
a lesser score.
But I will say,
Yeah.
if you can only get one, please get Astral Chain, because
I'm getting
Platinum-
100%.
Platinum needs
I honestly
needs the
can't-
help to
I can't
continue making
afford-
crazies.
Dude,
I can't afford hardly anything right now. So if I'm spending my money on a game, it's going to be Astral Chain,
Yeah.
just to be honest. So,
Yeah, no,
No,
but
that's
maybe once you've
100%
played a
the
little
minimum.
more of Oninaki, let me know if it ends up being everything you hope, and I might have to buckle down and get it, because I did enjoy it. Like the story
Yeah.
and the art style and everything, what I did play was pretty fantastic. So the combat was a little interesting in the beginning, but like you said, I guess it like gets crazier and crazier with the skill trees, so that'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, it does get crazy, but again, I agree. I think Astral Chain is definitely that game's gonna be amazing.
That's where my money's going, yo.
I don't doubt if that game is even on par with other Platinum games, it's gonna be worth that, and it's looking like it's going to be probably. I don't want to say the best Platinum game. I feel like that's a lot, but it's looking like it might be. There's so much to it, and I'm really excited. I'm actually glad. I know we talked about it before that they're not covering it so much. I'm almost glad that they're not, because I've been avoiding those like updates that they're putting,
right.
and I'm just like, I'm gonna go in completely blind and finally for the first time enjoy a game without knowing anything about it. So I'm hyped about it.
I'm going to be in the same boat. The good thing about, the marketing not being quite there is that, I don't know too much about what actually happens, but what I have seen is phenomenal enough to get me involved. So I think the game's going to end up surprising me and just be this freaking phenomenal. I mean, if anything, it's going to be our Persona on the Switch, I hope, or at least something in that vein. It kind of has at least that vibe. I don't think the gameplay is going to be like that, but at least the vibe, it definitely has me hooked. So I think that's going to end up being a standout hit. It's going to be crazy. And Zach, I mean, you think super highly of that, so I know you're
do.
on the same page.
It's my big flip of the year where I went from like Astral Chains. Now I'm like Astral Chain. But to round out our middle segment before we get to houses. This discussion on houses is nowhere near as exciting as we're hyping it up to be, but we have to have it now because it's been teased like 6 times. But to me, the best game shown this week, Gamescom is going on currently. Nintendo's big presence revolved around Indie World, but they also have put out new videos on Link's Awakening, Luigi's Mansion. They put out like substantial gameplay chunks, which I'm excited to have some time to sit down and watch through. But the big one for me is that Little Nightmares 2 got announced, and it's coming to Switch. It's not till 2020. That's fine. The game looks amazing and much bigger in scope than the first. I think Little Nightmares is... I don't know if it's because it's Bandai Namco or it's Tarsier Studios and they're relatively unknown, but to me, Little Nightmares is of the caliber of like Limbo and Inside. It just doesn't get the buzz that Limbo and Inside get. I think Little Nightmares is like... When I think of major indie titles that are like must plays, I go back all the way to like the XBLA days and I'm like, okay, Jonathan Blow's Braid, and we got stuff like... in Limbo obviously released back in that era, and now Inside, Shadow Complex, games that like I loved, over the last 15 years of indie titles. Little Nightmares is legitimately up towards the top of that list of all of those. I think the creepy Muppets on roids, I guess, or on food, I guess. Like they're just huge. Like that's just such a cool concept. The chase sequences are great. The physical tactile nature of the world, grabbing everything, pulling it's so good. It controls so well. And the fact that they're doing a sequel that expands beyond the world of the first, that it has outdoor areas, that it has combat, that it has a second character. If the first one did well, which it sure seems like it did, they were able to release a complete edition DLC, put it on Switch. That game with a bit broader scope, but still, I don't think it's going to be a $60 product, but still within kind of the indie realm, that will be one of my most anticipated games of next year immediately. I saw, Tarsier Studios, I'm like, okay, cool, something new from them. Like, they did good work, and it was like, dude, it's Little Nightmares 2. And even the guy on stage was like, we had to lie and tell people, well, we'd never do another so that you'd be excited, when we surprise you. And I was like, you got me. But that to me was the coolest thing of the week.
Yeah, that was a really dope reveal. I saw it happen. I did play the first one, and I loved it. Like you said, it's so unique in not only its setting, but the feeling of it. Mm-hmm. It is very tactile. It feels very physics-based, even though in reality it's like... I mean, it is, but it's not a huge component of it. So when I saw that the second one was out, I was really hyped, and it took for you to mention that it's like a little bit more open and that there's combat, where I was like... Oh, they're doing like that much different. Mm-hmm. Okay, let me look at this. It looks incredible. I mean, it's such a step up from what was already a fantastic game. So yeah, I'm excited for that too.
I hope that they continue to have grotesque but not too gross like Muppet monsters. Like to me, that's as much as the little like kid with the 6 or whatever, 4 or whatever number it is, 11. That's a cute little recognizable thing. No spoilers, Trip.
And while you guys are playing the horror version of the Muppets, I'll just go watch the Muppets with Jason Segel and Amy Adams, and I'll feel happy instead of terrified.
But they better bring those creatures back. They have to have those like little boss segments are just so good, and I love that. Limbo and Inside are phenomenal games, and I don't want to spoil them, but Little Nightmares has just like a, and I hope they don't lose it in the sequel, because the confines of that ship in Little Nightmares 1, it just had such like a living, breathing feel. Like every room was like alive with either little like, creaks and noises, or whether it had one of the big monsters or little things scurrying around it. I hope they're able to retain that, even if they do expand their vision for the game. But yeah, I hope that's out in the first half of the year and not the second.
Hopefully.
All right, let's talk about houses. Houses are a thing that people reside in. My friend's boss described houses as when you buy a home, it is like you are signing up for slavery, because you have to like constantly, repair it, and it's like if something breaks, like you have to fix it. If the roof starts leaking, like you're screwed. You have to fix it. And if you want to ever sell it, well, you got to get all that stuff done. So it's like you are a slave to the home. But you haven't bought a house, Zach, or Trip, or whatever.
Whatever you decide to call me,
whatever your name is.
Will I go an episode? I realize I screwed up every episode, because I go back and listen to them, and I'm like, I goofed this every episode. So
I've been Zach. I've been
whatever
Trip.
mirage we've tried to create. Yeah, I have
it's gone.
ruined it.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
It's all good.
But no, you've moved to an empty house, or have an empty house.
Okay, so basically, up till now, I've been living with my folks.
Right.
They had their lease was up, so they moved into a new apartment. So that's been happening all this like past week and weekend. I had to help them move the garage stuff into storage, and my dad owns all these like tiki like chairs and stuff. So that, I mean, it sounds cool, but it's also not fun to move because they're like massive and super disproportionate.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to cut you off, but that just gave me this like huge flashback to Honey, We Shrunk the Kids, where Rick Moranis has like a giant tiki, and he shrinks it, and then Disney World used to have a Honey, We Shrunk the Kids section at the place, and I have photos in it.
Hollywood Studios.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I'd had a Rick Moranis shrink ray to do the move, because that would have made things a lot easier.
Those are some
honestly.
great movies.
But it was basically just me and my brother and my dad, whose back is like messed up trying to move stuff, which is terrible, because he's got like the stint on it. Anyway, so but it was pretty crazy. And then I helped them this past weekend move into their new apartment. And so now, because of that, we're going to move on to empty house. Yeah, so I'm an empty house, essentially. Till I move out, I'm moving into my own apartment.
Nice.
The end of this month, so that'll be cool. But till then, I basically just have their kind of big townhouse that's, till the next people move in, because it's a rental. I have it all to myself, which is kind of cool, but like everything's moved out, so it's just a big empty house. So if Little Nightmares was gonna happen, like this is the perfect time to do it, to just literally send me over the edge. I'm not kidding. I have this like little hatchet that I use. That I used in a shoot or something one time, and so like anytime there's like a big creak in the house, I can't help but just grab that and like kind of walk around and be like, what's going on? So yeah, I've been wondering like what to do in this big old house with nobody in it. Like everything's in my room, but then everything else is just empty. It's just like an empty living room. I put my TV down there, but that's about it. So I'm planning, like, what do you guys think? What should I do with this empty house? I've got a plan for this Friday. I'm gonna have some friends over, and we're gonna have a confetti party. Because there's this music video I shot where I had a bunch of confetti cannons that we were going to use like during this dance sequence for my band, but it didn't end up happening. We didn't get that far, so I have all these confetti things left, and so we're gonna do like confetti dodgeball. There's gonna be like 2 teams. We're just gonna like shoot each other, put like maybe tape on our shirts or something, and then whoever gets like the most confetti, they lose, obviously. So that's one thing. But what else? What else can I do? I mean, there's plenty of things you could do in a big empty house. But
how do we even follow
how
that
do we
up?
top that? Yeah, I thought you were gonna say like having some friends over for like pizza and movies, but it's like confetti
you
wars.
Have a really dope plan.
Confetti wars. Yeah.
I almost don't even want to offer anything because I want you to do that so I can ask how it was.
The hard.
Well, what would you do? What would you do in a big empty
The hard
house?
part for me is like, now it's different because I live with my girlfriend, but like in the past couple of years, that's kind of how I lived my life. Like all my stuff in my room and my office, and then the rest of the house empty. Like I didn't furnish the rest of the house. I didn't have TVs in the rest of the house. So like your experience is kind of, I'm like, kind of sounds like status quo.
Yeah.
Like I have all my computer stuff in my office, and I have my bed in my bedroom, and like that's like I didn't have a kitchen table for like over a year. So just eat at the kitchen counter.
Don't have a kitchen table.
Yeah, so
no,
you're basically
anything.
Ghost Robo for a while. That's
Sick.
what you got
I get
going
to
on.
live in Zach's shoes for a little bit. Yeah, this is cool. I mean, my own shoes as well. So. Zach. Anyway, oh man. So it's been pretty cool. It's kind of liberating.
Is
it's
it?
kind of freeing, to not.
When I moved into my
anybody
last
around,
house,
so.
I got the internet before I got the stuff. So I just had like my laptop and I sat on the floor and ate snacks and played Steam games. So that's my.
That's a good time.
Also, I just don't
Yeah.
have friends. So like.
I mean, that's a time.
Yeah, who needs them?
Well, no, you do. You could do confetti wars and
I'm
things like
just
that.
kidding.
So that sounds a lot better than what I did. I don't know if there's any. I don't know the layout of your house, but if there's any like spots that you always wish you could like go to or get to. Like I have this ledge that's for plants, and it's above my staircase to my basement. And when it was empty, like I crawled across the banister and like sat there and just kind of like hung out for a little because I was like, oh, there's nothing here and no one here, and so I don't know if you have any secret ledges you can go sit on, but
This is pretty ridiculous, but I'm actually just excited about working out in different
There you
places,
go.
like other than my
you
room,
go.
because my room is super contained. So now I can work out in the
yeah, you
living
can
room.
yell, you
Now
can
I
sing, you can run around.
I can yell. I can be
Yeah.
super loud. So yeah, there's a lot of perks that come with it. So it's pretty exciting. I've been playing games downstairs just on my big TV, like sitting on the carpet.
That's pretty good.
Which is kind of a good time. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But for the most part, I still have pretty much all of my equipment in my room for shooting. So,
How long are you going to
just-
be there?
Till the 27th of this month.
Oh, just another week.
So it's just like another week,
So yeah,
So
confetti
I've already
confetti
been here
wars,
a
some
few
video
days,
games, and
and then I'm good to go.
you're good.
Yeah.
I have moved, I think 18 times.
Jeez.
I don't want to try to one up
Yeah,
you,
it's okay.
but I'm in the same boat. I feel like with my own family and myself, I've moved probably about 15 or 16 times,
Yeah.
and then I've helped because people know that I move stuff. I've helped friends move like at least another 15 times. So I'm in. Oh man.
The good news is I'm very skinny.
Don't,
so
don't get good at
well,
moving. Don't get good at
I-
it, because then people just ask you to help.
whether
move.
I'm good at moving or
It's
not,
terrible.
I'm too light and too skinny to be of much help. So I don't think I look like a candidate for like lifting heavy stuff. So
Moving type.
This last move, my older brother Josh was helping out, and like halfway through, he's like, "Dude, I don't know how you're doing it. I gotta bow out."
Yeah.
And so then naturally, I was just lifting everything else the rest of the way, and I was like, "Oh my gosh."
I'm in a third floor apartment right now, so like carrying furniture up a third floor apartment, like I was
That's the
like
worst.
scraped up for like weeks, legitimately like bruised and scraped, like I looked like
Yep.
I don't know, had some not good days, but yeah, it's
Anything with stairs, oh
not-
man, it's a terrible thing.
we're planning to move at some point soon, which will be fun, but our goal is to like either Craigslist or offer up most of the like expensive stuff so we don't like someone else can carry it. Like a lot of it's just like either like hand me down or like furniture acquired like from like, oh, they left it at the last apartment, because most of my actual stuff is in Indiana. So yeah, so like we're gonna try to go as like light as humanly possible, to not have
That's
to,
the way to do it.
because my 150-pound self and my 5'2" girlfriend aren't really going to be carrying many heavy things down 3 flights of
Gonna
stairs.
cut too much. Yeah, that's so funny.
Let's get to some of the, well, I want to get to viewer questions, but first I do want to just mention, because I think some people find it interesting, like YouTube behind the scenes. And there was a question about like how much time do you spend on YouTube and how much time do you spend on like other things? And for me, like that balance, especially since Gabe has been handling his stuff, like it's been a like 95% YouTube, 5% life split, and I didn't realize how. Okay, so like if you followed my Ghost River stuff from the beginning, I used to do walkthroughs almost exclusively, and those are videos that take time because of how many you do, but the individual videos themselves don't take time. Like 20 minutes of playing a game, you quickly match up the audio and edit and render and upload, and it's not that hard. But now that I've been doing all of the like on-camera stuff and more complicated edits, it's like, well, I spend 20 minutes making sure the lighting's set up, and then that's good, and then I have to like write out all my thoughts, and then I record the video, and then it literally is taking me hours to edit these things. But I will say it's like the most satisfied I've ever felt doing YouTube, like because it's an actual accomplishment that the video got done at all, right? Because it's like 6 hours of work or whatever to see this all the way through, and that I thought it would be super frustrating, but it's actually been incredibly rewarding to be like, dude, like this is a cool video, and I moved the little pictures around and I made them zoom in. And I've gotten so familiar with all the little buttons and tabs on Premiere, and like now I'm like, okay, I've got my editing mode and I've got my color correction mode and I've got I'm like, wow, this is like legit, but it is work. And I think it's something that still to this day, like you get people that think like, oh, all you do is play video games like 24/7. And like I said at the top, it's like,
no, all you do is YouTube and then try to find
any
time to play games in between,
which
if
is
that.
hard.
So,
it's like,
it's tough.
I love my plane flights now because that's when I'm like, well, get to dive into Creature in the Well.
Time
Well,
to play.
get to play Forager because that's like easy time. So the Switch is such a help for that. Otherwise, I'd be like, well, I can't do anything. So yeah, I'm expecting to play Astral Chain on plane flights. That'll be my Astral Chain time. But like, it's SwitchForce is trying to shift content wise to have higher quality content and videos that are, I don't even want to say better. I just want to say that they're
super hot, like the game's super hot.
Exactly, super hot. No, they're more fun, and that they have a purpose, I guess, is what I'm kind of going for. And through that, it has taken a ton of time, but it's like rewarding time. And I've never been good at journey. I'm great at destination. Like even when I was super little, I'd be like, hey Jake, like let's bike to Target and get some Pokemon cards. Hey, let's bike to Funko Land and see if they have any new like cool used games. He was great at like, let's just go play like pretend, or let's go bike around. And so process oriented work is not my forte, but I'm in a situation where like I have to now because it's all me. And so like that has been, it's been an interesting like learning experience, I guess.
Yeah, I think that shift is an interesting one to take as like a creator ever, when you're kind of like, I mean, it's more interesting in your case because even though you're doing the same subject matter, your way of going about it has changed so drastically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you have like a really, like you're gonna end up with really interesting insight on how that kind of changes, because you're seeing both sides of the same coin. You're still doing gaming content in the same exact sense, but you have shifted where the time is. Mm-hmm. So your time that you used to put more into, I guess, researching certain aspects or trying to make sure that you know everything, is now split with also quality control on these things and trying to do as much on that side, like post-production type of stuff. So I mean, that's always interesting. I think you're going to end up better for it anyway, because
I hope so.
You're going to be able to do some crazy edits. I mean, that's just how it is. Like I've been editing for probably, for a very long time, and I went to school for it. So, I mean, a lot of the stuff like Premiere to me has always been, I always call it like an assembly line. Because the way I treat it is I throw my clips up, then I go down the line of edit, color correction, sound, all that stuff. So like once that process becomes second nature, it just, I don't know, you worry a little bit less about that, and then you could get to the more like interesting stuff and trying to figure that stuff out. So it's always fun, but for me, like it's always hard for me to post on YouTube because I look at the editing process and I'm like, man, being able to get this idea, like this concept to completion is so much time. And a lot of the times I am so happy when I do it, but there is something to say where like, oh, I'm going to work on this video for 13 hours and then get 200 views.
Yeah,
I know
that's
people
hard.
don't do it for the views. And that's the thing, like people don't understand unless you're on YouTube. You're not doing it for the views, but subconsciously when you're not getting a lot, it does make you feel like your voice like doesn't matter. Like, oh well, people don't want to hear me talk about this, because if they did, it would have 1 million views, and you could have a 1 million view idea and it just not hit that. So it kind of snuffs out creativity sometimes. That's the thing with YouTube, is because it has this competitive edge,
right?
It works as a drive for a lot of people, because you're like, I want to be the best, I want to do the best videos I can, which is awesome. But in the same sense, it also really, again, as I said, snuffs out creativity, because when you're not hitting that stuff, it just feels like you're wasting time. And even though you end up with a product that you enjoy and you like it, sometimes it's hard to be like, oh, well, this is the right step, because you're not seeing that direct correlation.
Right. Well, I will say, like, for me, it has shattered so many different mental barriers, and I absolutely see what you're saying, and I think that's super spot on. For me, and maybe it's just a up and down thing through 9 years of working on this, like, it's actually liberating to know that my time invested or my quality investment does not dictate the views. And I know that sounds backwards because, like, it should be that, like, I feel great because I put this great product together and then I post it and it does great. But there's something about the fact of knowing that, like, YouTube is so much a game and you don't have all the pieces. Like, there's so many aspects of YouTube that you are playing a board game without knowing what pieces are where, you're not knowing what all the rules are exactly. And for me, having to dive this deep into, hey, I'm going to try to make every video great. I'm going to try to do edits. I'm going to try to spend hours. I'm going to try and put together a better, thesis. Knowing that isn't 100% the ticket, like, is for some reason freeing, because now it's like, hey, I have now spent 6 hours on a video that got 2,000 views on Ghost Robo, and, like, now there's no feeling that I can't conquer in that way, right? Because it's like, before I'd be like, oh, I can make walkthroughs and hopefully they hit search, or I can spend tons of time on this and maybe it will, maybe it won't. But once you spend tons of time and it doesn't, and you still feel good about it, I feel like that has shattered those barriers in my head of, like, now.
Well, because now you're doing quality control and the good stuff just for you, so you could be happy about the video.
Right, which is such a change.
At least, which is cool. It's a good head shift,
Which
and for
is
me,
really
it's
funny.
YouTube's always been about just being the best, like no one ever was.
Yeah.
But usually I'm the worst, like no one ever was. So it's interesting to see it from a new angle and to see just quality control and Zach making strides, new steps. Soon he'll be the Pokemon master that he never wanted to be. But I think it's cool, man. So I see the changes. I think they see the changes out there, you know. And regardless, even like you said, even if it's something that doesn't really change viewership, etc., because they're here for you, they're here for the games, they're here for what you talk about, they're here for the content, maybe a little less for the quality, but it's still something that you feel, and you mentioned that before, like it's something you feel, even if they don't notice it, like they probably feel it at the very least.
Right. And
then also, like you said, they're watching because they enjoy the content, but it just feels right to put your best foot forward and to do your best, because then it's like it's not something I did that made it 2,000 views, like, or it's maybe even also not something I did that made 100,000 views.
Right.
It just it's something about the content and something about just how it got placed, etc. But at least you're doing the best you can, so you can feel good about it no matter what.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and I don't want to pull a Gary V here, but it's like, failure has fed my creativity, which is so.
Guys, write that
there's
one down.
No,
That's
there's,
that on a shirt.
there's no more, like, I don't know. I tried to, like, keep it together in this spot that I wanted to be for so many years, and now that it just isn't, and I know that there's so many factors out of my control, it's like, okay, you be as creative as you want, and it works or it doesn't. Not be like it's not directly correlated. So being as creative as I want now is just because I want to be creative, or I want to do something different, or I want to feel good, or I want to put that out there. And I've never sat down to make a video and felt like, oh, I really want to get this thought process out there until now. Like I still talked how I wanted, I played what I wanted, I said, like, I wasn't puppeteered from behind the scenes, but it was more like, hey, okay, this game releases here, so I got to make this content calendar, I got to cover this, I got to do that. And now it's like, okay, I'm really ticked off that EA says they love the Switch 2 weeks after saying that they don't care about the Switch. So I want to, like, I need to get this out there. And, like, I think that's probably how a lot of YouTubers feel. But for me, it's just kind of like a, whoa, like, hello, like, this is how maybe it's supposed to be. And so it's been fun. So we also have this podcast, which has been fun. And you guys are a big part of that with your questions. So let's get to some of those, because they were ace this week. So thank you. If you want to be featured in the podcast every Wednesday-ish, we post on Twitter that says, like, hey guys, we're recording the podcast. If you have a question, reply to this tweet, twitter.com/theswitchforce. You can find us there. If you want to follow us as well, we post updates and GIFs and sometimes other stuff. First question comes from...
Sometimes I play mandolin.
Oh, gosh.
Not today,
Not
but
today?
maybe next
Oh, okay.
time.
I was about to get...
Maybe next time.
Thought we were going to get serenaded for a second. Ground Knight 91 asks, what are some games that came out this year that you started but never finished or didn't put too much time into that you'd like to revisit? You guys have any?
That's a great question.
I'm
going to start off with a fun one.
Okay.
Oh, you got one?
Oh
Joseph,
no, I was
I'll
just
let
saying,
you
because
have it.
usually I don't have mine, but this time
Oh,
I
do
have
it.
mine
Go for
already.
it.
Oh, you sure? Oh, I'm on it.
Yeah, dude.
Dude,
I'm interested now.
Mine is Bloodstained.
Ooh.
I think it's Ritual of the Night. There was two of them. Yes, Ritual of the Night. Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night. So I went to Best Buy the day that game came out, and I was like, I'm gonna get it. Ended up buying Bloodstained Curse of the Moon. They were doing a limited run, and I got a physical version of that very indie game.
Wait, Curse of the Moon or Ritual of the Night?
Curse. Well,
Okay, okay.
There's a reason.
Okay.
A reason. I promise. So Curse of the Moon, I was like, oh, I paid. That's why it was only $20. I paid a lot less, and it's like an old Castlevania style game. That game blew me away. I was like, whoa, and people are gonna not like this probably, but I was never a huge fan of Castlevania because I just never played it. Like I never had that experience, especially not classic Castlevania. So when I got Curse of the Moon, I was like, I'll play it, and maybe it's good because I know a lot of people were talking about it. Fell in love with the game. It was amazing. I can literally sit down and speedrun it. I've played it so many times. So the next day I was like, all right, let me trade in some stuff. I'm gonna get the actual Ritual of whichever one it is, man. There's so many. Ritual of the Night, thank you. And I got it. It is a really fun game, but I think like there is so many people bagging on the Switch version that every time I turned it on, I couldn't help but be like, this is trash. I want the PS4 version. and it wasn't because the game was worse. It really wasn't that bad. Sure, graphically, it wasn't as intense as I wanted it to be. There was kind of a huge difference. It was very noticeable. Gameplay-wise, though, it was still fun. It still did everything it set out to do. I just got like 2 hours in, and I kind of dropped it. But I would love to pick it up again. And it's just also really hard because so many games are coming out in the next.
Yeah, this is the worst time to go back, I think, because there's so much coming out.
I know. So I'm probably not going back anytime soon. But that is my pick for what I would like to go back and play.
Cool.
I've got two quick ones, actually. I'll just say, so Yoshi's Crafted World is, a little different choice, I guess, but something about
First
it, I
party
love
Nintendo,
Yeah, I loved Woolly World. That was one of my favorite games, honestly. And so I was naturally excited for Crafted World. And it's a great game. It's fantastic. There wasn't a lot of hype or excitement when I started playing it, like with people around. So I think that kind of added to a little bit of disinterest. So I didn't play quite as much of it as I wanted to. There's a lot left I got to beat. So I'd like to take another round on that soon because it's still a fantastic game and it's super fun. Yeah. Another one that is I finished, but it's Cadence of Hyrule. I'd like to do another playthrough because I only ended up playing it once through, and like I felt accomplished, but I beat it in like a day or less than that, like just a certain amount of hours. So I'd like to give that another playthrough because that was a phenomenal game. So those are my two.
Yeah, Cadence of Hyrule is my Switch game as well because I was super hyped for it, and it came out during E3, so like it just passed me by, didn't have the time. And then you didn't say Nintendo specifically, so Plague Tale, which was a like Focus Home Interactive mid-tier game that got a ton of love. Like I really want to play because the story is supposedly very engaging and there's some insane rat tech, so that's always a fun time.
Nice.
This is a cool one. I don't know if you guys have an answer for it, but Chaz MKE says, what was the game that encouraged you guys to first start making gaming content? So I guess it doesn't have to be YouTube videos, but anything that you've done, that was like even wanting to talk about games extensively or something like that. I'll just go with mine first, which is 100% BioShock 1. Played that game when it came out, got my Toys R Us employee person to sell me the game early because back then they didn't find the stores for breaking the street dates, and I sat there and I just played it. And I hadn't played a lot of games that year. We moved from California to Indiana, and that was kind of a bummer, and I don't know, I wasn't really into them, and that game kind of reinvigorated me to like, hey, I love games so much, I'm in this for life, and I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to do something about it. I wanted to, whatever. I sat in my boiling hot basement, recorded podcasts with Jake. I tried to make, video reviews on some like super. It was before like Elgato, before any game capture stuff. It was just like a typical like red, white, yellow like 3-prong recording thing that recorded in like 480p or whatever it was, and it was so crappy. And I wrote written reviews, and it really genuinely did. I mean, I love games my whole life, but BioShock really did kind of catapult me into like that's the whatever you want to call it, like exploding star moment, birth of a star moment for like the whole YouTube thing 15 years later. Yeah.
That's a great game to have too. Like what a fantastic choice.
It could have been
I mean,
it could have been something like Fire Emblem Three Houses, and so thank goodness.
Yeah, then that
was the first game for me. Yeah.
That's actually the game. That's the game that got me into gaming for sure. Before that, I only
Very
really
recently,
read books.
wow.
Yeah, I only ever read books, so it was nice. No, for me, I mean, I have to say Pokemon. I can't not do it. It's always been with me, and it's not like it's ever. I don't know, man. I mean, even when I first met Trip, that was our first conversation was literally, "Oh, you like Pokemon?" That was it. We just
And then we just talked about Pokemon for
like
forever.
kids on a playground.
And we haven't stopped. So
honestly, so that's mine. It's real easy. Obviously, like I mean, it got me into art. So even more than just talking about games, it's pretty much shaped me entirely. So that's good.
Yeah, mine honestly has nothing to do with games. I'm just a very self-absorbed human being. I like hearing myself talk. And so it doesn't have anything to do with games. I just wanted to be popular and on YouTube and famous.
I'm gonna move on, so you can't course correct that. We're gonna leave it with that.
You're just gonna move on. No, mine's probably Pokemon as well.
Okay.
If not Pokemon, then I'd say Halo. Honestly, even with the drop of Halo, like I've been talking about games ever since, and that was probably the biggest inciting action or reason for that.
That's
so
cool.
I'll just say that.
All right.
Yeah, Halo and Pokemon for sure.
Cool.
Great choice.
Bruce 101 has a quick question. What did you guys eat for breakfast today?
I skipped breakfast. I know.
Dang it, Joseph. It's not good, man.
I basically skipped it, but I had some cashews and an orange. So that's, I mean, it's something. I woke up, I had some cashews, I had a little mini orange.
I'm really bad as well. I usually, like, instead of doing a normal breakfast, I'm usually just like a non-dairy yogurt and protein bar kind of person. Mm-hmm. We've been trying to do like, hey, let's get some like eggs and do like actual food in the morning, but I'm usually just like, because honestly, I wake up and I go straight to YouTube, like straight to working on stuff. So it's like grab a protein bar, grab a bottle of water, and away we go. Nothing fancy.
That's why I grabbed some cashews and an orange. Just simple to something to get the ball rolling inside my old ticker. But
I got air.
That's about it. I got air.
Derwin Ashley says, what are your top 3 games looking forward to for the rest of the year? So, Trip, we'll let you go first since you already kind of started with that tourist.
All right. Well, I already talked about the tourist, so I'm not going to talk about it again. But that is in my top 3.
Yeah.
I guess I am talking about it again. I don't know. It's something about it. It just shot up into the list, and I'm excited for it. I like when a new indie title like
It's
grabs
because
my
it's like
attention,
Zelda.
I get excited about.
I think
those.
that's why people are hyped.
It is like
because it
Zelda.
looks like old school
Yeah.
Zelda.
It does, with a kind of different art style, and again, the adventuring, something about that. Anytime there's adventuring and old school vibes, like, you got me, you did it. But then I'll talk about some of the more popular ones as well. Obviously, I can't talk enough about Sword and Shield. I'm sure Joseph and I are both on that same boat.
For sure.
Sword and Shield is going to be phenomenal. That's probably going to end up being my favorite game this year just because it's Pokemon. Even if it's absolute trash, I'll still love it. But it's got a wild area. It's, I don't know. It looks gorgeous. I think it's going to be super fun, regardless of them having or not having all the Pokemon. I still think it's going to be a gem. And then I'll say Link's Awakening, because something about that, I've mentioned this before. I never played the original, so shame on me. But at the same time, something about this, like the new art style, and it just looks freaking Beanie Baby looking Link. I can't wait. So those are my 3. I think that just looks fantastic.
Yeah. I guess because we both shared Pokemon, I'll just take.
You
it
can
from
say
there.
Pokemon. That's fine. That's
Pokemon. No,
it's
Pokemon.
honest.
Pokemon is my most hyped.
Yeah.
I mean, even when they first announced, it's what I'm most hyped about. I think honestly, and I talked about it with you, Zach. This last update that they did, not the village thing, but the.
Did you see that they're making like at PAX West and some other conventions, like they're recreating a Galar village that you can like walk into and like.
Really?
What?
No, I didn't hear about that. That's awesome because I was thinking about going to PAX, so
Hey.
I would love to see that.
Sick.
Yeah, so the update that we're like about the competitive stuff and the new moves and the new held items, like amazing. I'm not even super into the competitive side, but wow, are they pandering and in the best way possible. Like it's only going to be better from there. So super excited about that. So the next one's kind of a tie. I really can't in my head figure out which one I want to go with. But it's either Dragon Quest 11 because again, it really left a good taste in my mouth. Super excited to play the full game. Or Doom Eternal.
Ooh.
Because wow, like, and I'm not even talking about just like Switch. I mean, just in general, Doom Eternal. The first Doom was so incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I was not expecting it to be the way it was. The music was so engaging. I mean, never before have they like a game put the music in the forefront, and it was a first-person shooter, and like just an amazing time. and it looks great. And I think my last one is also going to be Link's Awakening, just because I never played it like that. That completely went, under my radar when it dropped when I was like 4. So, super excited. I love the art style, and it drops the same day as the Switch Lite. So, get to play it on that.
Hey.
But yeah, those are my 3. Technically 4, I guess.
So my 3 games, we'll roll through them quickly. Number 1 is Control, which I'm expecting to be my game of the year, hopefully. If not, it's going to have to do something really wrong to not be. It's so good and so fun. I can't wait to play the full thing. I'm actually going to go with Gears 5. I really think the campaign looks awesome. The new trailer they showed at Gamescom looked fantastic. And I won't play much of the competitive multiplayer, but Horde and Escape both are right up my alley as co-op shooters. How many shooters... It's not first person, but how many shooters are having campaign and co-op as the focus instead of like Battle Royale or online multiplayer or free to play? So I'm really, really down for that. Pokemon Sword and Shield is my 3rd, but because you guys both picked it, I don't want to be so samey. But let's go with Jedi Fallen Order. I did not like what was shown at E3, but I trust Respawn because Titanfall 2 was amazing.
Yes.
And everything I've heard is that what they showed did not do the game justice. Like what people have seen behind closed doors and what's being worked on like is much stronger than the demo that we saw at EA's shenanigans, or there wasn't even a press conference, so whatever they called their E3 show this year. So those are the 3 I'll go with. With Pokemon Sword, know that Pokemon Sword and Shield is in there because I just mentioned 3 non-Switch games on a Switch channel, so please don't hang me. But yeah.
I was really expecting at least somebody to be like Astral Chain,
Yeah,
Luigi's Mansion, which, by the way, I'm
Yeah.
super excited for as well. But it just,
100%,
for
yeah.
whatever reason, that's not my top 3, but it's definitely my top 5.
There's too many.
So
it's too many to... Dude, it drops on Halloween. I'm so hyped, man. That's so sick.
It's pretty cool.
So fire.
With no Joy-Con or Switch Lite. All
Yeah.
right, let's go to a question from... let's go. Blue Scott Gamer, who says, what Nintendo IP should get the Nintendo Switch treatment next year? And he says you can pick any, but he gives you some ideas. Paper Mario, Mario Golf, Mario Strikers, Pikmin, and Star Fox. There's one answer, guys. Nope. You're off the podcast if you don't get it right.
I know yours is Pikmin.
It is. It's freaking
I know
Pikmin.
yours is Pikmin, Zach.
I do love Mario Strikers, but it's Pikmin one-ups that 100%.
Yeah, well, Pikmin should have been out by now. Like, where is the 4th Pikmin game? That's the
I'm gonna say whoever they did a good job for me. I'm gonna go with Star Fox.
Really?
That one out of the park. Yeah,
Wow.
Star Fox is what I'd love to see because we've got Starlink, which is honestly a great game.
Yeah.
I haven't beat it. It's fun. Like it got a little repetitive for me after a bit, but I still enjoyed it. But I would love like an actual core Star Fox game, something a little more close to the classic, but switched up. Given the Switch treatment. So that's my game. I've been wanting it so badly. I hope it happens. So.
Yeah.
Only if it's like Star Fox Adventure. Star Fox Adventure 2. We need some like crystal action, some dinosaur planet return. Like
please
open it
yes,
up, expansive world. Yeah.
Is Rare gonna do it?
I also just want to hear do a barrel roll. Well, one more time. Anyway,
that's a fact.
That's mine.
I'm also gonna do one that they put, and that's Mario Strikers. I loved that game. It was so much fun. I think it was my first sports game. I was like, wow, this is so
sports
cool.
Game.
It's so aggressive. It's such an aggressive game. And I mean, wasn't there like that thing about Mario or Luigi's Mansion 3 where there was like a Mario Strikers poster or something?
There is. I mean, it's the same devs, so like they might just be an homage to their
Either way, I think the fact that was making the rounds, like people were bringing that up, just goes to show you that game in particular, like it needs some love. Obviously, like the tennis side, Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, that's constantly getting, new facelifts. But Mario Strikers, come on, we could go a little bit.
People like soccer.
I would also love to see a new Mario Party on the Switch.
Oh, I did read an interesting theory.
We've never gotten one.
I did read an interesting theory that the reason that they're not doing DLC is because they're going to go back to like much more regular iterations, and because it sold so well, which is really crappy for us, but does kind of make sense. It's not. That's not even a rumor. It's just like someone was like, "Hey, saying maybe that's what Nintendo is planning to do is more regular releases of Mario Party rather than supporting this one like it sold so well and it was kind of really limited in features. So what if we just do Super Mario Party 2 and Super Mario Party 3 and Super Mario, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy with that if it comes out soon.
Yeah.
You know, if it 2020 dropped, then I'll be okay. I'll think, okay, that's the DLC I wanted, a whole new freaking
$60
game.
DLC, baby.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, as long as they fix what they did wrong on this one, a little bit bigger maps, maybe balance it out.
I just want more variety in the maps and more that the maps actually do instead of it just being kind of like a blank canvas. But,
yeah,
you know.
I want online games. I don't know why. I get it. Like, you don't want to sometimes commit to a 30-minute game online, but, like, have a system where if you leave, you get replaced with a NPC. I don't know.
With somebody else they can jump in, or an NPC. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know.
And
I know
also, if somebody just
focus.
drops out mid-game, then I feel good. I'm like, haha, I beat them so bad they had to leave.
Yeah, I do understand that Mario
Oh,
Party is like supposed to be a let's all get in the same room and have fun type of deal, but like I also have friends that don't live in the same state as me. I do have friends that do, obviously, but
Sorry to make this spiral into a Mario Party discussion.
It's okay. I think Paper Mario is also a phenomenal choice. There's just so much that can go wrong with that because so many of them recently have had missteps. If they go back to a more traditional system with like leveling up and that progression and a cool world, like basically a sequel to Thousand Year Door, that will be amazing. That'll be an RPG that I'm all about. But I would worry that like Color Splash would have too much of an influence, Sticker Star would have too much of an influence. But if they're able to go back, like honestly, they're all great. Golf, Strikers, Pikmin, Mario, not Mario Party. You got me thinking that Mario Party is an option, but it's not.
Some F-Zero, please.
There you go.
F-Zero would be fantastic.
I'll take a new Donkey Kong.
I mean, a new Donkey Kong, maybe some Metroid eventually would be cool. You know, I mean,
Eventually.
it's coming.
One of these days. That is that's gonna do it for our show. A beefy one this time, which is nice. Hopefully it's nice. I was like, my favorite podcasts are almost at episode 300 and 500. So I'm like, we got to 3, baby. We're so close. Woo! Only 297 more to go, or 497 more to go. But maybe we'll get there. Maybe we will. We'll definitely get to 4, which will be next week. Until that time, hopefully by now you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts. If you're not, I'm so sorry. Please don't ask me about it. It's coming. I'm working on it. I'm trying. Did you just hear me say how long it takes me to edit? I'm trying so hard. I will get it up, I promise. But you should be listening to this on your favorite podcast provider. And it'll happen next week as well. So we'll see you next Friday. Astral Chain is close. And
Mega
will that
close.
be next week?
I think that's next.
It is. No, 27th. So it'll be next week. Boom. So we'll have Astral Chain to talk about next week. Heck yeah. That is going to be awesome.
yeah.
Until that time, everybody, thanks so much for being here. Make sure to follow us on Twitter so you can get your questions answered. Twitter.com/the_SwitchForce. Where can they find you, lovely boys, on Twitter?
You can find me at Zach Makeout on Twitter, or you can find me just Zach Shada Instagram.
There you go.
It's not Trip, sorry, but that's where you can find me. You'll just basically see a bunch of content about my band. That's
Nice.
pretty much it.
You can find me at Joker on Twitter or Joestar on Instagram, and that's that. Yeah.
Secret project
Follow
coming
now.
soon. We're
Secret
excited
project
for
coming
that.
very soon. Actually, if you're excited about
We're ready.
Art and video game stuff,
Sweet.
watch that. That'll come soon.
We will definitely tune in, and hopefully you'll tune in next week. Until that time, though, thanks again for watching, everybody. For myself, Joseph, and Trip/Zach/ he said
Red.
Red.
Red /
SwitchForce.
yeah, whatever.
Out.